Hello, and welcome to Pikes Peak Community College Financial Aid Office presentation regarding professional judgments. In this presentation, we will discuss what a professional judgment is, the types of professional judgments and documents needed for each type, and how to schedule an appointment to see if a professional judgment is possible for your special circumstances. When completing the free application for federal student aid or the FAFSA, students are required to use financial information from 2 prior years. For example, in the current 2021-2022 FAFSA cycle, the FAFSA requires the use of financial information from 2019. The Department of Education recognizes that households can experience a change in finances that do not reflect the previously used information. When this occurs, it's possible for the Financial Aid Office to reevaluate a student's eligibility based on the current financial information with the use of a professional judgment. We'll now discuss different types of professional judgments and the documents needed for those items. The most common type of professional judgment is due to a loss of employment. Your loss of employment must be for at least 6 consecutive weeks. We will need a statement indicating the change in circumstances and its effects, official documentation verifying the date of job loss, such as a termination letter, severance letter, unemployment decision, DD 214 member 4 form for members of the military, etc. We will need your final paycheck that was received, any unemployment history summary reporting your benefits received to date and any balances remaining. If you became employed after your job loss, we will also need your most recent paycheck stubs for all forms of employment. We will need copies of your 2019 and/or 2020 IRS tax transcripts or signed tax returns. We will also need copies of all 2020 and 2021 W-2s for all persons in the household for all sources of work, and other documents based on circumstances as determined by meeting with a financial aid advisor. You may have also had a loss of employment when you are self-employed. This must also be for at least 6 consecutive weeks. The type of documentation we will need for loss of self-employment includes a statement indicating the date of the loss or reduction in employment, official documentation verifying this date, copies of your 2019 or 2020 IRS tax transcripts or signed tax returns, an income statement showing the net earned income for the 2021 tax year, pro forma income statements projecting income for 2021-2022, and if employed after the job loss, include most recent pay stubs for all sources of employment. You may also be required to provide additional documents as determined by a financial aid advisor upon a meeting regarding professional judgments. The next possible type of professional judgment can be done for a reduction of income or a loss of benefits. So you may still be employed, but working fewer hours than you were in 2019. For this type of professional judgment, we will need a statement indicating the date and change of income or loss of benefit, employer documentation verifying this change of employment status, copies of paychecks from before the reduction of income or hours, and most recent pay stub since the reduction of income or hours, and other documents as determined by financial aid advisor. You may have been divorced after completing the FAFSA. The FAFSA is considered a snapshot in time, and therefore your marital status as of the date you completed is your marital status for the FAFSA. If you have a change in marital status after you have completed the FAFSA, you may qualify for a professional judgment based on this divorce. We will need a statement indicating the change in circumstances, the divorce decree, the copy of 2019 IRS tax transcripts or signed tax returns, and copies of all W-2s reported on the tax return. Your former spouse may have made all of the income, or you may have made all of the income, or there may be a combination of both. We will use the W-2s to separate your tax responsibility from your former spouse. If you, the student, are a dependent student and your parent is the one that got divorced after completing the FAFSA, we will need the same information for your parent and your parent's former spouse. If you became separated after completing the FAFSA, we will need similar documentation. We will need a statement indicating the date of separation and 2 official documents verifying the physical address of the student and the former spouse, or parent and parent's former spouse. The only official documentation that can be given to provide proof of separation is a copy of a lease or mortgage statement in that person's name showing their address and a utility bill in their name showing their address. We will need these items for both persons that have been separated from each other. So student and former spouse, or parent and former parent's spouse. Other types of bills or mail will not be accepted for this proof of separation. We will also need copies of the 2019 taxes and all 2019 W-2s reported on the tax return to separate income and tax responsibility. If your parent or your spouse passed away after completion of the FAFSA, we can perform a professional judgment to remove the former person's income from the FAFSA. To do this, we will need copies of the death certificate, copies of the 2019 tax return, and copies of all W-2s for all income reported on the tax return to separate the income from the former person. You may have also experienced unusual medical or dental expenses that were paid out of pocket and not covered by insurance. For this type of professional judgment, we will need a statement explaining if your unreimbursed expenses were or will be higher in 2019 or 2020, why they were higher, how much you paid in insurance, excluding any employer contributions, and the amount of expenses not covered by insurance. We will also need copies of canceled checks for out-of-pocket payments and receipts for payments made for medical or dental expenses. We will need copies of the 19 and 20 taxes and copies of your FSA or HSA account showing payments and or copies of any medical account listing payments and dates. You may have had unusual expenses when it comes to education expenses, especially if you are a dependent student and your parent is also in college. We would need to know the cost of tuition that your parent paid for their own college, documentation from the school your parent attends. The documentation must be on school letterhead and indicate the name of the parent that is taking college classes, the degree the parent is seeking, the enrollment dates and number of hours or credits enrolled, and tuition expenses for that college. We will also need any copies of any employer reimbursement that your parent may receive from their employer for taking these college classes. Parents cannot be considered as a person in college for a dependent student without the use of professional judgment. If your parent is also in college, you may want to consider pursuing a professional judgment to have their number counted as someone in college. You may also have dependent care expenses, such as child care expenses, that were higher in 2020 or 2021 than they were in 2019. The type of documentation we will need for this type of professional judgment will need to be on letterhead from the care center with the name and age of the family members listed on the FAFSA and the expenses that were needed for their care. Professional judgments take about 2 weeks to process after all documentation has been received by the Financial Aid Office. You will first want to schedule an appointment, which takes between 30 minutes to an hour. We will be discussing in this presentation how to schedule a professional judgment appointment. Once you meet with a financial aid advisor and they discuss with you the documents that will be needed for your professional judgment, please ensure to return all documentation to the financial aid advisor you are working with as quickly as possible so they may begin working on your professional judgment. It is important to note, during a professional judgment review of documents you provide to our office, if anything conflicts with information previously reported on the FAFSA, then our office is required by federal regulations to resolve any conflicting information on the FAFSA, regardless if the professional judgment is approved or denied. Conflicting information must be resolved before any financial aid eligibility can be determined. Resolving conflicting information could cause an increase or decrease to your current financial aid. We may also be required to request more information after reviewing the items you provided. Approval of a professional judgment does not guarantee additional aid, nor can a professional judgment be used to simply request more aid. Professional judgments are to be used when there is a special circumstance or information on the FAFSA no longer matches your current household situation. To make an appointment with our offices, you will go to the main Pikes Peak website at www.ppcc.edu. You will click to log in on your student portal on the right-hand side. Once you are logged in with your S number and your password, you will click on the navigate icon on the left-hand side of your student portal. Once the navigate section pulls up, you will click on the left-hand side where it says appointment. When the appointment center pulls up, you will click on the right-hand side to schedule an appointment. You will select that you would like to meet with the Financial Aid Office, that you would like to request to meet for a professional judgment, and then you will find an available time. It is very important to note that there are 4 different types of appointments. We offer appointments at our financial aid office at our Centennial campus, which is by Fort Carson on South Academy. We offer appointments at our financial aid office at our Rampart Range campus, which is on Interquest Drive, north of town. We offer online video appointments, which will be Zoom appointments, and we offer phone appointments. It is very important when you schedule your appointment that you note what type of appointment you made and come to campus or log into the Zoom when your appointment time comes up. After you have selected where you want to have your appointment and what day, you will have a review of your appointment details. Please again note the specific time and location of your appointment. Click to schedule, and then you will be sent an email reminder to your student email that the appointment has been scheduled, and an additional reminder the day before your appointment. You'll have this confirmation, and you can also view upcoming appointments in your navigate section of your portal. You will be required to fill out a professional judgment request form regardless of the type of professional judgment you will be asking for. The professional judgment request form will be provided to you by the financial aid advisor that you meet with during your appointment. As there may be additional documents the financial aid advisor will need from you, please do not fill out this form prior to your appointment. The financial aid advisor will give you this form and a list of documents needed for your circumstances during your professional judgment meeting with your financial aid advisor. If you have any questions regarding financial aid, professional judgments, or any other issues, you can contact us at financialaid@ppcc.edu. Call us at 719-502-3000 or schedule an appointment with our offices through your navigate icon on your PPCC student portal. Thank you so much.